It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the St. Louis Cardinals. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Friday evening to you, wherever you may be. Welcome to the ball game. The Dodgers enter the field one game above 500, tied with the Giants in first place. Cardinals arriving, well, they're 3 games above 500, but they're 7 games behind the Chicago Cubs. Cardinals score a lot of runs. Ask the Angels. The Cardinals swept the Angels, scoring 25 runs in the 3 games. No surprise, really. The Cardinals have scored 200 runs so far. They're number 1 in the National League, and they're second to the Boston Red Sox. Interesting story tonight. 2 roommates, kids from Texas A&M, talking to each other, wondering, will we ever play in the big leagues, and could we ever possibly pitch against each other? And the answer is yes, and it's tonight. Michael Wacha will be on the mound for the Cardinals. Wacha is 0-3 in his last 3 starts. He is 2-3 for the year and 1-1 against the Dodgers last year. Ross Stripling is 0-2 and no record against the St. Louis Cardinals. And we understand the loser buys dinner. You might also wonder on Friday the 13th, how many Major League players wear number 13? And the answer is 16. And one of them is in the game tonight, third baseman Matt Carpenter of the St. Louis Cardinals. Okay, that's all the numbers before the game. We got a good one coming up, a ball game and a whole lot more right after this. Friday evening to you, wherever you may be. We're at Dodger Stadium breaking the seal on a 3-game series with the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals in third place, 7 games behind the Cubs. Mike Matheny going over his notes prior to the start. And we can also take a look at Mike's lineup because it follows this way. Leading off, Matt Carpenter will be at third base. Stephen Piscotty will be in right field and Matt Holliday in left. Matt Adams at first base. Yadier Molina behind the plate. Randall Grichuk in center field. Colton Wong at second base. And the shortstop, it's Aledmys Diaz. Aledmys Diaz and then Michael Wacha. On the mound for the Dodgers, and that would be Ross Stripling. Stripling and Wacha, as you may or may not know, went to school together at Texas A&M. And like kids, talking about would they ever make the major leagues, and then the preposterous thought, would we ever pitch against each other? And the answer is yes, tonight. So Wacha and Stripling, buddies from way back, now going up against it. We understand that the loser buys dinner after the game. For Wacha, he's already been established, although struggling this year. Wacha last year, 1 win and 1 loss against the Dodgers. Extremely talented. Stripling the same way, except he's had some arm problems, and we'll see how it goes as Matt Carpenter checks in. Carpenter wearing number 13. We pointed out to the crowd that there are 16 major leaguers who wear number 13, and we've got Matt here tonight. He started off slowly, hitting .230 in April, 3 home runs, but look out now, hitting .341 with 4 home runs already in May to give him 7. First pitch from Stripling, just off the plate and low, 1 ball and no strikes. Last year, Adam Wainwright talking with our man Carpenter, and Carpenter started to, I guess as my mother would say, began to be a little full of himself, and Carpenter saying that I'm going to hit about 20 home runs. Well, the next thing you know, there was a bet. Wainwright said, I'll tell you what, you hit 20 home runs, I'll buy you a golf cart. Fastball in for a strike, and the count 2-1. And of course, Wainwright thought that was a pretty good bet. Well, not so. Matt Carpenter last year hit 28 home runs. So Carpenter, left-hand batter waiting. Stripling comes back 2-1 over the top, flips it low, and a 3-1 count. Carpenter followed by Piscotty and then Holliday. Matt Adams hits cleanup. 3-1 the count. Cardinals lead the league with 200 runs scored. There's a strike to Matt. The starting staff, however, for the Cardinals, their ERA is 7th best after finishing first last year. Last year, the staff 2.9. This year, it's a little over 4. So here's the 3-2 pitch. Stripling delivers low and away. Ball 4, and Carpenter is aboard. Take a look at the Dodgers with the leather. Gonzalez and Kendrick, Seager and Turner, Thompson, Peterson and Puig, Ellis behind the plate, and Ross Stripling on the mound. Piscotty playing very well for the Cardinals and hitting .319. Went to Stanford. Last year, it was a frightening moment for Piscotty and anybody who saw it. Meanwhile, high fly ball to center, going back on the track, turning, reaching up, and making the catch is Jock Peterson. That was a nice play out there in center field. That ball kept carrying and carrying, and for a moment it looked like it had a chance to go out. Peterson backtracking right to the wall, reaching up, taking it about 6 inches from the top of the wall. So Piscotty, a long fly ball for an out on the heels of the walk. And the batter now, and certainly no stranger to anybody who's been following the Cardinals, and that would be Matt Holliday. Matt has changed a bit, now featuring a beard, hitting .267. Big right-hand batter, and takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Holiday 6 home runs, 19 runs batted in. Outstanding high school quarterback, but opted to go to baseball. He's from Stillwater, Oklahoma, now makes his home in St. Louis. Strike one, pitch on the way, check swing, and that's in there, and the count 0-2. Anytime we see Holiday, we always think of that monstrous home run that he hit. He hit it to the back of the Dodger bullpen where those three sisters are, the big 3 palm trees. It was estimated 481 feet. Well, why not? He's 6'4", 235 pounds. Originally broke in with Colorado. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Holiday takes off the plate, 1-2. Boy, there's some great hitters out of the state of Oklahoma, and Holiday's just one of them. Stripling has to be very careful, 1-2. I mean, when you talk about Oklahoma baseballers, you start with Mickey Mantle. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way, taken high and away. Mantle, then Stargell, Joe Carter, Johnny Bench, Bob Johnson, Bobby Mercer, Matt Holliday, and I'm sure you remember Matt Kemp was from Oklahoma. Runner at first, that's Carpenter, 1 out, no score, first inning. 2-2 pitch on the way. Swung on and grounded foul outside of first and down the line. Couple of things about the Cardinals. We told you, number one, they lead the league in runs, 200. The pitching staff, however, the starting staff ERA is over 4, so that's not a happy thought for Mike Matheny. In home runs, yeah, they're tied for first, 51 with the Mets. The Dodgers are 13th. They've hit 29. Here's the 2-2 pitch instead of throw to first. Another thing about the Cardinals, they lead the majors in errors. 29. The Dodgers have committed 17. The Washington Nationals have only committed 10. So Carpenter eyeballing every move. He does not have a stolen base. 1 out, and the 2-2 pitch coming up over the top, low and inside, and the count goes 3-2. Waiting on deck, Matt Adams, the big first baseman. Dodgers and Cardinals. Last year, the Cardinals beat the Dodgers 5 of 7. And the 3-2 pitch, we'll watch Carpenter. He goes, and the pitch is lined into right center. Peterson over to pick it up, and just like that, Cardinals have runners at first and third with 1 out. So the Carpenter walk, a long fly ball out, and now a line drive single. First and third, 1 away. Ball hit right on the button. For the Cardinals, they can score runs and they can hit for extra bases. They drive in their base runners. They hit home runs on the road. They hit home runs at home. They homer up right-hand pitches. So first and third, 1 out. Cardinals trying to get the drop on the Dodgers. Stripling delivers in on the hands. 1 ball and no strikes to Matt Adams. Matt Adams, a big boy, 6'3", 230. Out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Went to school at Slippery Rock. And the 1-0 pitch on the way. Matt hits a ground ball back at third, backhanded by Turner. They get 1. The throw to first, a wild throw. So Seager being challenged as Matt Holliday went sliding in there. So in a moment, 1 run is in, and we'll have a runner at second base. So Turner got down there in time. Seager, however, tied up by Holliday and threw it down the right field line. So the error will be charged to Corey Seager. The Cardinals are on the board, and they're leading 1-0. So Yadier Molina checking in. The great catcher, 7-time All-Star. About as ever played the game. And of course, remember, his manager was a wonderful catcher. Molina waiting. Here comes Stripling. High, ball 1 with a high change. Mike Matheny holds the major league catching record. for consecutive errorless games, 252, and for consecutive errorless chances, 1,565. He won 4 Gold Gloves. Here's the 1-0 pitch on the way. Molina takes, and that's in for a strike, and the count 1-1. 2 down, a run in. Cardinals leading 1-0. Now the 1-1 pitch ready. Stripling reading his catcher Ellis. Now the right-handed delivers, and slider on the corner for a strike. 1-2 the count. Ross Stripling, he grew up in the Dallas suburbs, playing baseball, basketball, and football as well. He didn't really concentrate on baseball. 6'3", 190. Born in Blue Bell, Pennsylvania, a town of 6,000. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Molina, right-hand hitter, bends at the knees and waist. 1-2 pitch to Yadier, just off the plate. Molina holding up. Molina off to a great start, batting .336. No home runs, but he has 13 runs batted in. Molina means so much to the Cardinals, especially to their pitching staff. The 2-2 pitch coming up. Stripling looks back at Adams. Now here he comes, and that's lined into right field. Charging Puig picks it up. They're going to hold Adams on a one-hopper to the plate. So Molina a single to right. Matt Adams gets to third. The Stripling in trouble here in the first inning. Giving up a couple of hits and a run. Had they turned the double play, however, he might very well have gotten out of the inning. So first and third with 2 down. Molina off to a great start. And here's Randall Grichuk. Hitting just .213, has a lot of power. Very, very good ball player, and will continue to develop. The first pitch to Grichuk is inside at the hands. Ball 1. 1-0. Grichuk is the fellow who was taken by the Angels 1 pick ahead of Mike Trout late in the first round. Here's the 1-0 pitch on the way to Randy, and he lets it foul off to first and well back into the crowd. Grichuk actually played a game in center field about 3 weeks after he had partially torn the ulnar collateral ligament in his right elbow. He played and really couldn't throw. 1-1 pitch is swung on. Ground ball to Seager. Feeds his man at second, Kendrick, and that's the inning. So Grichuk hits into a 4-play. The Cardinals get a run on 2 hits. There was an error by Corey Seager, and at the end of half an inning, Cardinals won. Dodgers coming up. coming up, trying to get it back at least. And we'll take a look at Dave Roberts' lineup. Howie Kendrick at second base and Corey Seager at short. Justin Turner at third and Adrian Gonzalez hits cleanup at first. Yasiel Puig is in right. Jock Peterson, who made a fine play in center. That's where he is, batting ahead of Trace Thompson, is playing left. A.J. Ellis behind the plate, and Ross Stripling, who had a difficult first inning and survived it. And now his buddy Michael Wacha trying to beat him. Wacha has made 7 starts. He's lost his last 3. Goody RA of 3. Wacha is a big fella. He's 6'6", 210. Over the top with a fastball low, ball 1. 1-0. So Howie Kendrick hitting just 188, but perking up in May, hitting 250. The next one is a fastball low. So Wacha falls behind. 2 balls and no strikes. Out of Texarkana, Texas, although he was born in Iowa. And his 2-0 pitch in for a strike. And the count 2-1. Howie Kendrick starting off. Wacha from the first base side of the rubber comes back 2-1. Blurs a strike in there at 93. His uncle played in the Cincinnati Reds organization, and with his size he played baseball and basketball. 2-2 pitch is swung on, high fly ball to center and deep. Back goes Grichuk to the wall, reaches up and makes the catch, taking a home run away from Howie Kendrick. So we thought Peterson make a good play. What a catch by the center fielder Randall Grichuk. Kendrick hit it as far as he could. Grichuk to the track, to the wall, leaped up. His glove was maybe a foot above as he fully extended his left arm, and he makes a dazzling out. So instead of 1-1, and you can see Wacha giving him that way to go. And the batter now is Corey Seager, who takes a strike. So a huge play by the center fielder Randall Grichuk. Strike 1 pitch on the way is pulled on the ground to the first baseman Adams, who takes it to the bag. And just like that, we have 2 out. So the man who was drafted ahead of Mike Trout makes a Mike Trout play out there in center field. 2 down. Justin Turner coming up. Turner checking in. The Cardinals 1 run, 2 hits. Dodgers an almost home run, but that's all. Boy, what a nice play by Randall Grichuk. It's especially a nice play when you do it on the road. I mean, if you do it at home, you figure, well, you got to know the territory at home, but on the road, that's another call. Well, that was a beauty. 1 ball and no strikes. Fastball by Wacha in for a strike. 1-1 the count. Yasiel Puig talking to Scott Van Slyke. There ought to be a very interesting conversation. Scotty's standing up on a step to make him look so much taller than Puig. Meanwhile, the pitch down and away, and a 2-ball 1-strike count. Michael Wacha was very successful on the playing field and in the classroom, a member of the National Honor Society. 2-1 pitch, fastball fouled away. Wacha accepted a baseball scholarship to pitch for Texas A&M, and he was the first-round pick by the Cardinals in 2012, the 19th player chosen. A bonus? Yeah, $1.9 million. Here's the 2-2 pitch on the way. Turner takes strike 3 call. Drops the bat in frustration. That's a dangerous thing to do. But here comes Grichuk. He's pitching a shutout out there in center field. And at the end of an inning, Cardinals 1, Dodgers nothing. Nothing, and a little angel about 5 years old holding up a big cardboard sign that says first Dodger game. Well, may it be the first of many, many, and enjoy every moment. In the second inning, the leadoff man is Colton Wong, the second baseman, and he takes outside, ball one. He's the son of Kaha Wong, who played college baseball at SC. The 1-0 pitch is taken low. Should train himself as a baseball player. You know, he's about 5'9". Wong spent 2 hours daily cutting trees with an axe to improve his strength in daily sessions in a batting cage, and it certainly paid off. 2-0 pitch on the way. Wong drives it to center. Now Peterson has to go back to the track at the wall. It's off the top of the wall. Wong breezing into second, flying to third. Puig's throw to third is not in time. Puig made a monstrous throw in right center field, but to no avail, and it was right on the money. So if Peterson could not do what Grichuk did, he went back on a ball hit over his head. It's going to hit less than a foot off the top of the wall, bouncing back towards the infield. Puig came up, picked it up, and airmailed one to third, but not in time. So Wong triples to center field. Diaz, Wata, and Carpenter coming up. So swinging that axe and chopping those trees has certainly paid off. It's another trademark of the Cardinals. They get a lot of extra base hits. They're number one in doubles, and they're second in triples. So Wong dancing down the line, and a comebacker. They've got Wong halfway. Stripling is running him back to third. Now the race with Turner. He throws it to Ellis. Ellis will tag him out, and down to second base goes Diaz. With nobody out, little surprised that Wong would even think about coming back on a ball hit back to the box, and he paid the price.
Pitcher number 52, Michael Walker.
So a triple to center, and he's erased in the rundown. Turner running him towards home, and Ellis tags him out. So Wong is wrong, and with one out, Cardinals have Diaz at second and Waka coming up. Waka is 0 for 14 and has struck out 8. So let's see with one out if they don't try to have him bunt. Nope, he's going to swing. Little chopper to the right side. Kendrick picks it up and throws him out. And on the play, Diaz moves to third. So Wong erased at third, between third and home. Carpenter, the leadoff man, coming up. And Matt, remarkable as a leadoff hitter, his on-base percentage 385. Utley is 387. Dexter Fowler of the Cubs 450. So with 2 out, a runner at third, still 1-0 Cardinals, but boy, a lot going on. Here comes the first pitch in the dirt, blocked nicely by A.J. Ellis. Two down for the second time in this inning. Cardinals have a runner at third. Carpenter hitting .266, 7 home runs, walked and came around to score in the first inning. 1-0 pitch on the way, off speed, and a 2-0 count. So Stripling wobbly at the outset, but we'll see. And Carpenter, a wonderful player for the Cardinals, and it's amazing. We've been talking about this guy gets $1.9 million. This fella got, you know what they signed Carpenter for? $1,000. Here's the 2-0 pitch on the way. Stripling delivers, misses off the corner, so he's in a hole again. 3-0 the count. Carpenter's dad ran a baseball program, and among those who passed through, Matt Carpenter, James Loney, Kip Wells, Chad Huffman. The next pitch taken for a strike, and the count 3-1. So Ross Stripling gave up 1 run in the first inning. saved so far here in the second when Wong tried to come down from third with nobody out. Here's the 3-1 pitch on the way. And that's low. So Carpenter draws a second walk. Diaz holding at third.
Stephen Piscotty.
That's 3 walks in the inning plus a couple of base hits. Piscotty hit a long fly ball to center, and Peterson was able to get that one. Steve hitting .317. Piscotty, right-hand batter. First and third, 2 out, 1-0 Cardinals. First pitch punched on the ground to the right side. Kendrick throws him out, and that's that. So for Piscotty to swing at the first pitch, that was a big break for Ross Stripling. No runs, a hit, man left, and it's still 1-0 Cardinals. Cost the Cardinals a run. He opened up the inning and tripled, and then on a comebacker he tried to come down from third, and they nailed him in a rundown. So bottom of the second, it's still only 1-0 in favor of the Cardinals. Adrian Gonzalez, Yasiel Puig, and Jock Peterson in that order against big Michael Joseph Wacha. Right-hander ready and deals, and it's punched on the ground, short hopped, and then it kicks away from Diaz. And Gonzalez is safely aboard. Big high bouncer, and Diaz was caught on the short hop on the dead run and couldn't hold it. Remember, we told you at the very start of the game that the Cardinals have had a porous defense. That is their 30th error, if indeed they mark them with one, and they are going to do it. So Gonzalez safely aboard, and here's Yasiel Puig. So errors usually come around to give you a very bad time. Gonzalez at first. Puig fouls one off to the right, out of play. Michael Wacha was introduced to the Dodgers back in 2013, and he turned out to be the MVP in the league championship series. He beat Clayton Kershaw twice with 13 2/3 scoreless innings. I mean, that was truly remarkable. Strike one pitch is taken low. The only other rookies to win the LCS MVP, Livan Hernandez, Mike Boddicker with the Orioles. So Michael Wacha, the big boy, checking and ready to go to work. One ball and one strike. fouled away by Puig. Yasiel trying to shake himself loose from a slump that has his average down to 230. Gonzalez at first on the error. Puig, Peterson, Thompson trying to get him around. Walker straightens up. Now ready and comes to the plate. 1-2. Over the top fastball hit off the glove of Walker, and he has no play. So a comebacker that looked like it had a double play all over it, and it squirts away from Walker. And let's see now if they rule that an error, and I would think they should. So that's what the Cardinals have been doing in the early going. They're their own worst enemies. Comebacker that got away. So 2 on, nobody out, and Jock Peterson the batter with the Cardinals leading 1-0. We're waiting on the scoring. They have not told us whether error or not, but I assume it's an error. Instead, they're going to give it a hit. So giving the pitcher a break. And here's Peterson. 0-1 the count. So Gonzalez reached on the error. Puig is given a base hit, and the Dodgers first and second and nobody out. Waka, as you can imagine, kind of a tricky name, so he has a lot of nicknames. They call him Waka Flocka, Guacamole, and just plain Wack. Here's the strike one pitch on the way. Big right-handed delivers, squirted up along third. They're going to let it roll foul. Wise play by Matt Carpenter to let the ball decide the issue. So 0-2 the count. Peterson back up with Thompson on deck. A Nolan Arenado bat that Peterson is using. Well, Arenado is some kind of hitter, and apparently it feels pretty good. The weight about right. 0-2 the count. 2 on, nobody out, and the count, no balls and 2 strikes to Jock Peterson. Waka set at the belt, and Peterson asking for time and backs out. 1 run, 3 hits for the Cardinals. No runs, 1 hit for the Dodgers. Strike 2 pitch coming up. Waka delivers, and that one is inside at 95. Waka was bothered by problems with his shoulder, which caused the Cardinals great concern. It was called a shoulder stress reaction, and it was the shoulder blade behind the right shoulder. 1-2 pitch over the top, low and away, and the count 2-2. Big man, 6'6", 210 pounds. He'll be 25 in July. Gonzalez away from second, Puig from first. The 2-2 pitch swung on and fouled away. Questionable pitch, but with 2 strikes, Peterson couldn't afford to take it. Still 2-2. Waiting on deck, Thompson. Ellis hitting 8th, and then Stripling. All right, 2 balls and 2 strikes to Jock Peterson. Waka set at the belt. Looks back at second for the moment. Now to the plate. Fastball fouled away. That's as hard as he has thrown tonight. He hit 96 on the gun. Sunset starting to show its colors. Back of left field. Peterson backs out, now gets back in. Waka all the while patiently waiting. Yadier Molina wigwagging some signs out. And the 2-2 pitch is taken low. Another fastball at 95. Well, they're getting down into the lineup, but with nobody out, 3-2 the count. It would be a little questionable that they would run. We'll see. Gonzalez certainly doesn't show any speed. Puig does. Walker ready. Checks the runners. 3-2. They're holding, and the pitch, a check swing. No swing. Ball 4. Mike Matheny a little unhappy about Dan Bellino's call. And now here comes Thompson. Tough pitch. A check swing. Matheny thought either the pitch was a strike or the bat had gone on through to make it a swinging strike. So Trace Thompson hitting .273, had the game winner the other night to beat the Mets 3-2. Infield back, Thompson takes a strike and the count 0-1. You had best not argue with the plate umpire Dan Bellino. I'll tell you why. Dan, among other things, he holds a law degree, he has an MBA, and has passed the bar exam. Here's the strike one pitch, and that's taken low, 1-1. In fact, Dan Bellino once worked as an aide to Illinois chief federal judge. Pretty impressive credentials behind the plate in the hands of Dan Bellino. Dodgers have the bases loaded, nobody out, with Thompson, Ellis, and Stripling. Wacha's out of a stretch. The 1-1 pitch on the way. Fastball hit foul off to the right, way out of play. And the count 1-2. Boy, when I was a kid, I loved to go to the Polo Grounds in New York and see the Cardinals. As a youngster, I thought the Cardinal uniform was the best thing I ever saw, with the bird sitting on the bat, red stockings with white circles. Wow. 1-2 pitch on the way is a little low, 2-2. Yeah, it's a great uniform. I just wish the players would wear those socks, but it's all droopy drawers nowadays. But the stockings very pretty, red and white. Here's the 2-2 pitch coming up to Thompson, over the top. Wacha, line drive, base hit. That means Gonzalez will score. They're waving Puig in, and he will score. Stopping at second is Peterson, and the Dodgers lead 2-1. Life is cruel, isn't it? I mean, what a great story it was. Michael Wacha going up against his roommate, Ross Stripling. Loser buys dinner. Right now, you wonder the way the two pitchers are working, whether they even make it long enough for a decision. So in the inning, the error at short by Diaz on a tough play. He tried to short hop a high bouncer on the dead run. He couldn't do it. Then Puig hit a ball that might very well have been a double play. It went off the glove of the pitcher Wacha. That gave the Dodgers first and second instead of 2 out. Peterson walked a load, and Thompson singles to drive in 2. So the 30 errors by the Cardinals show up immediately in the game. Now here is Ellis, 2 on, still nobody out, and Stripling on deck. Wacha set, looks, comes to the plate, fastball low. That's one of his problems already, and we're only in the second inning. He's pitching behind a lot. Ellis, who usually makes the pitcher work, makes an average of a little more than 4 pitches every at bat. Now the 1-0 pitch on the way. Wacha looks at second, over the top and way off the plate at 91. 2 balls and no strikes. Wacha in 2013 was absolutely dazzling. Here's the 2-0 pitch, and that's a line drive at Diaz for 1. They go to second base for 2, and that stops things. So Ellis hits the ball hard, a line drive, 6-4 double play from Diaz to Wong. So that kind of restores order, and it brings up Ross Stripling. 2-1 Dodgers, second inning. Stripling with a runner at first. That's Thompson. And Walker's first pitch in for a strike. 0-1. The rare time when he came right at the hitter, but of course it's the pitcher, his old buddy, the roommate, Texas A&M. Oh, would they love to get a base hit off each other. The next one is hit into right field. There's the base hit. Down to second base goes Thompson. Wow. So for Ross Stripling, he nails Walker for a base hit.
Number 47, Howie.
And the batter will be the leadoff man, Howie Kendrick. Oh, I bet they had talked to each other about, I'm going to get a base hit off you, blah, blah, blah. Well, he got it. So the Dodgers 2 runs, 3 hits. The Cardinals 1 run, 3 hits. 2 on, 2 out. Howie Kendrick robbed of a home run in the first inning by Randall Grichuk. Fouls the first pitch back, and the count 0-1. So Stripling a line drive single to right. Thompson goes to second. The leadoff man Kendrick checking in. No balls and 1 strike to Howie. Walker ready. Back he comes. Line drive exploding inside first down the line. Scoring easily is Thompson. Going over to third is Stripling, and the Dodgers lead 3-1. So Kendrick, a line drive single to right, picks up an RBI. 3 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. 1 run, 3 hits for the Cardinals. And Corey Seager coming up. Stripling over there at third base. Thompson scoring the run. And for Stripling, that base hit against his old buddy, his first major league hit. A bluff by Kendrick at first, and the first pitch, a change curve that misses. 1 ball and no strikes. So Walker having some troubles here. Dodgers lead 3-1. Scoring 3 times in the second inning. Seager grounded out in the first inning. Hit a ground ball to Matt Adams, the first baseman. Fouls the next pitch back. And the count 1-1. I love the story that Michael Wacha tells about his mom. She loved baseball and a major part of his development. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Seager fouls it away. Wacha was about 10 years old playing in that kind of a league, and his mom went to every game. And I mean, her heart and soul was in every game. And there was a close play at first. However, the umpire called it, she disagreed. And she kept hollering at the umpire, "You know you're wrong. You know you were wrong." Seager looks at a strike. Down he goes. Well, you know what the umpire did? He threw Wacha's mom out of the stands. So Michael is quite a competitor. The Dodgers get 3, and at the end of 2, it's 3-1 Dodgers. Wonderful song, Little Things Mean a Lot, as we look at a magnificent sky at sunset. The little things was the ball hit by Puig, a comebacker to the box. It went off the glove of Waka after the error at shortstop by Diaz. And the next thing you know, the Dodgers had 3 runs on 4 hits. So Waka is partly to blame on that comeback that got away. And Stripling, who got the base hit, will now face Holliday, Adams, and Molina. Matt Holliday, as usual, a thorn in the Dodgers' side. Line drive single to center field in the first inning. First pitch is down and away, ball 1. Waka labored. He made 29 pitches in that second inning. The Cardinals, who are in 3rd place, are not accustomed to be at 3rd. The Dodgers are accustomed to being at 1st. Little change and a ground ball to short. Seager up with it, flips it in time, and we have one away. Friends, don't miss the annual Freeway Series driven by Lexus when the Dodgers and Angels face off at Dodger Stadium Monday and Tuesday nights. So for tickets, visit Dodgers.com/tickets. Giants and D-backs, they're scoreless in the 5th inning. Jeff Samardzija and Shelby Miller. Miller could use a good game. His earned run average going into the game was over 7. Matt Adams hit into a force play. 0 for 1. 1-0 pitch on the way. Swung on, popped up, going back into shallow left field is Turner, along with Seager, and it's Seager to make the catch. So 2 down, and that high twisting pop fly. We mentioned that the Cardinals are not accustomed to being in 3rd place. It's interesting to note that the most days spent in 1st place since 2013, the Dodgers have been in 1st place 373, and the Cardinals 341. And there's a ball whacked into left field for a base hit. So Yadier Molina is 2 for 2. And that'll bring up Randal Grichuk.
Number 15, Randal Grichuk.
Grichuk already dazzled the crowd on that ball hit by Howie Kendrick. That was a big major league play. He got to the track, he got to the wall, timed it, and took it away. You know who's here taking in the ball game, and I'm sure he's thinking of himself on that catch? Jim Edmonds. Remember when he played center field for the Angels? Wow. Well, that was an Edmonds play. He's part of the broadcasting crew for the Cardinals. 2 down. Grichuk takes a pitch low. 1 ball and no strikes. The Dodgers and Cardinals scrap pretty even for the last 3 years. Cardinals have won 11, Dodgers 10, but whoops, when they get in the postseason, Cardinals have won 7 and the Dodgers only 3. The 1-0 pitch on the way, and that swung on and popped up and up and up. It will be Kendrick waiting and waiting and makes the catch for the out. Big league pop fly. No runs, 1 hit, a man left, and at the end of 2.5 innings, 3-1 Dodgers. Bottom of the third inning, and I'll tell you one thing, the Cardinals did not make life easy for Michael Wacha. In the second inning, he made 29 pitches, and the Cardinal hitters were out in 3.5 minutes. So he's right back out on the mound. Wacha ready to pitch to Turner, Gonzalez, and Puig in that order. Wacha looks down the barrel. Now he's ready. Big right-handed deals. Fastball at 92, but it's off the plate. Turner struck out in the first inning, called out on strikes. Swings and misses at the next one. Wacha was so great. He was so popular back in 2013 after the Cardinals beat the Dodgers. A restaurant in St. Louis named not a sandwich but a milkshake. It was called the Waka Waka. It was a milkshake with vanilla, chocolate chips, and Cracker Jacks. 1-1 pitch, low and inside, ball 2. Wacha said he couldn't remember the name of the restaurant. Cardinal people tell me it was called Fozzie's. But he said, I like the Cracker Jacks. I'd add a little baseball flair to it. 2-1 pitch, swung on. Big hopper, speared at short by Diaz to throw him out. The ball hit part of the mound. Otherwise, that's into center field. And Diaz makes a great play when the ball suddenly kangarooed high in the air, and he was able to get his glove on it. Hit the left side of the mound, popped it up, and it was speared by Diaz. And boy, what a lovely play he made. Diaz spears, turns. Aledmys makes the play. Aledmys Diaz. The first pitch now to Gonzalez. Low and away, ball 1. Gonzalez reached on the error with the right side of the infield loaded up. Off speed pitch, swung on and missed, and the count 1-1. That was up around the eyes. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way. That swung on and missed, and the count 1-2. 3 runs, 4 hits, an error for the Dodgers. 1 run, 4 hits, 1 big error for the Cardinals. And the 1-2 pitch on the way. Wacha delivers in the dirt. 2-2. Wacha fastball, changeup, curveball, and a cutter. They call his changeup an outstanding pitch. That's going to be whacked foul down the line. Because of his cutter, he's becoming a ground ball pitcher. Wacha's ground ball percentage has improved 31% since 2013. Fastball line down the left field line, hits the line. Base hit. Over to get it, Matt Holliday, and into second base goes Adrian Gonzalez. We've often talked about it. The so-called foul lines are a misnomer. They are really fair lines. So if the ball hits the line, it's a fair ball. And just like the so-called foul ball, the foul poles, they're also fair. So Gonzalez a double, and Puig coming up. So Wacha in trouble again with 1 out. And remember, Turner lost the base hit on that great play by Diaz at short. Puig tries to time it, instead grounds it to Diaz, the shortstop, who throws him out. 2 down. Dodgers are leading 3-1, and they're trying to turn the table not only on the Cardinals, but Dave Roberts wants to change things completely. The way things have been going, the Dodgers win 87% of the games that Clayton Kershaw pitches. He's 7-1. All the others, it's only 41%. So for Stripling, a chance to pick up his first win and kind of right the ship. Maeda taking a look from the Dodger dugout. And here's Peterson, who walked in the second inning. Jock takes a look at the pitch low, and that's really been the story with Waka. Most of the time pitching uphill, pitching after missing the first pitch. Peterson batting .256. One and 0 pitch coming up. Dodgers lead 3-1. We're in the bottom of the third. Peterson waves at an off-speed pitch down and away. Waka remarkable in the sense, far for a pitcher to make a debut, less than a year from pitching in college, but that's what he did. Quickest Cardinal pitcher to make his debut since Chris Carpenter back in 1987. He only pitched 73 innings in the minor leagues. Next pitch swung on, hit in the air to left center. There's nobody there, and it's going to go off the wall. Into second base goes Peterson with a double, and the Dodgers lead 4-1. So Gonzalez doubled down the left field line. Peterson doubles to left center, picks up an RBI as well. So Waka not having a good night, had that fastball high. Actually, it looked like Peterson did not get that much of a swing on it, and he was still strong enough to bang it off the left center field wall. 4 runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers, 1 run, 4 hits for the Cardinals. And the first pitch to Trace Thompson, a little low. Thompson had that single in the center field to drive in 2 back in the second inning. Now the 1-0 pitch on the way, and a change very high. 2 balls and no strikes. So Gonzalez showing the way with his double, and then Peterson drives him in. Waka has made 57 pitches, and I told you I don't think his teammates helped him at all. The 2-0 pitch on the way, line drive, foul down the left field line, and boy, that was blistered. Yeah, Waka makes 29 pitches in the second inning, and the Cardinal hitters go out in 3.5 minutes. He could barely sit down, and he had to go back to the mound. And I noticed when he was warming up, he heaved a big sigh. Though little things do mean a lot, and his buddy Stripling hoping to enjoy his part of the night. 2-1 pitch coming up to Thompson. Waka delivers and misses again. 3-1. A.J. Ellis, who banged into a double play, on deck. Dodgers getting 5 behind Kershaw, come right back and get 4 tonight. 3-1 pitch on the way, and that's taken for a strike. 3-2. Dodgers began the night tied with the Giants. The Giants scoreless in their ball game in Arizona. 3-2 to Trace Thompson. Peterson, good lead at second. Waka looks back at him. 3-2 pitch is low. Ball 4. Couple of walks given up by Waka, and A.J. Ellis will be the batter. No one throwing in the Cardinal bullpen. Wong, Diaz, and Waka due up in the 4th inning. A.J., a line drive at second, turned into a double play. He takes way off the plate. Yeah, that's got to really drive Waka to a milkshake, behind on so many hitters. A.J. batting just under 200. Waka ready, 2 on with the Dodgers, 2 out, leading 4-1. And the next pitch is low, ball 2. 2-0. Dodgers with 6 hits in 2 2/3 innings. Walker ready, and the 2-0 pitch swung on, lifted down the right field line, slicing foul, heading for the stands and back in there amongst the customers. Piscotty coming over to take a look, but that's about all. Wong went out there as well. Adams, Wong, Diaz, and Carpenter, Holiday, Grichuk, and Piscotty, with Yadier Molina calling the shots behind the plate. Walker trying to get out of the inning and hope his teammates will give him a rest. 2-1. 2 out. The pitch swung on, popped in the air down the right field line again, and once more going in amongst the crowd. So Ellis making him work. Carlos Martinez will be on the mound tomorrow against Scott Kazmir. Game 2 of the weekend series. Bill Martinez, that boyish look, sitting, waiting. And Scott Kazmir, who was very unlucky his last time out. 2-2 pitch on the way, and that's line to center. Here comes Grichuk to pick it off. So Ellis has hit 2 line drives, both caught, and the Dodgers settle for a run. And at the end of 3, it's 4-1 Dodgers. Sportsnet LA is brought to you by the Dodge Challenger. Test drive one at your local Dodge dealer today. And by Jack in the Box. Taste the bacon-licious sourdough bacon ranch combo. Only at Jack in the Box. Men from the past. Albert Red Schoendienst on the left, 93 years old now. Schoendienst in German, you'd break it down and it would be something like beautiful servant, and boy, he was that and then some. One of my all-time favorites, Gil Hodges with the Dodgers, and Smokey Burgess, whose first name was Forrest. And how about you? Your first name has to be Angel. Yes. 4-1 in favor of the Dodgers. Forrest Smokey Burgess, when Manny Mota broke the pinch hitting mark, it was Burgess who had held it prior to Manny. Meanwhile, here's Colton Wong, who tripled and was then erased in a rundown between third and home. 1-1. I think that ball got Dan Bellino in the mask, and so A.J. Ellis doing what they all do. Yeah, he's hurting. So A.J.'s going to go buy him a little bit of time. Got him on the shoulder. That's worse. So A.J. will give him a little time. Bellino probably saying thanks, pal. 1 ball and 1 strike. Yeah, they sure understand each other behind the plate. Big roller to his right is Kendrick. Backhand off balance throw. Nice play. One away. Say, a reminder, tomorrow the first 40,000 fans in attendance, Dodgers and Cards, will receive a replica Dodger Stadium courtesy of Farmer John. So for tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Oh, yes. Of course, that's what food was meant for. You don't just eat it. Way to go, young man. That's all right. There are no rules here. Yeah, you can wipe it, lick it, anything you want.
I want him to be on TV, pero
4-1 Dodgers, fourth inning. 2-0 the count. To Aledmys Diaz. Good looking shortstop. That's off the plate. Ball 3. Old friend of ours coaching at first, Bill Miller. Bill Miller, 2 years with the Dodgers. With the Red Sox, he led the American League in hitting one year. Terrific guy. With the Red Sox, 2003, and then he came right back and had a good year the next year. That is on the corner. So Diaz will have to come back and try it again. Over at third, and it seems strange to say it, Cardinals third base coach is Chris Maloney. I think I would have said in my sleep Jose Oquendo. 3-2 fastball hit in the air to left center, and going back is Thompson. That one is going to be over the wall and out of here. So Diaz clears the wall. That makes it 4-2 in favor of the Dodgers. For Diaz, that would be his 6th home run. So the young shortstop has some socks. So Aledmys, who came up this year from Springfield, hits a long fly ball that carried, hits the top of the wall and kicks in. So his 6th home run. 4 runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers, 2 runs, 5 hits for the Cardinals, and a strike now to Waka. Now remember, they're buddies from college, and Stripling had a base hit in the 2nd inning. Check swing. Did he? No, he didn't. We didn't have much time to tell you about Diaz having a 5-hit game earlier this year. Little comebacker. 2 down. The last rookie for the Cardinals to have a 5-hit game, a name that was so important for the Dodgers back in 1959, Wally Moon. So Diaz is in very good company. So here's Matt Carpenter, who has walked twice and scored. Carpenter, a wonderful player, and takes ball 1. That home run by Diaz, home run number 52 for the Cardinals. Carpenter has 7 of them, and young Diaz now has 6. 1 ball, no strikes. Foul back. Boy, how Carpenter sparkled in the off season of the regular and playing in the post. Incredible. He has a brother who used to be in the Mets organization but never made it. 1-1 pitch, ball 2. One thing about Carpenter that certainly sets him apart from most players, if you look at his hands, yep, no gloves. 2-1. Right. 2 years in a row, Matt was named the Cardinals winner of the Heart and Hustle Award, presented by the Major League Baseball Players Alumni Association to those who demonstrate a passion for the game and best embody the value, spirit, and tradition of the game. That makes it 3-2. Carpenter didn't look like he was going to be a star. 13th round draft pick, kind of pudgy. 5th-year senior out of Texas Christian. As we told you, he signed for $1,000. He wasn't even a prospect. Down he goes. So Stripling takes care of Carpenter, but he gives up a home run to Diaz. And at the end of 3.5 innings, Dodgers 4, Cardinals 2. With the Dodgers leading the Cardinals 4-2. Ross Stripling single to right field in his first at bat for his first major league hit, and his buddy Waka starts him with a strike. One thing for Waka, we told you about, they didn't give him a break at all in the 3rd inning, going out in 3.5 minutes. At least in the 4th inning, the Cardinal hitters took 6.5 minutes to give him a little breather. And it was all due to the shortstop who hit the home run, Diaz. You don't think Waka isn't going to hear, no matter how the game comes out, you don't think he's going to hear from Stripling about the base hit. 1-2 the count. In case you missed it, and it's been written up and we've mentioned it, they're buddies. They were teammates and roommates at Texas A&M. The loser buys dinner tonight. 2-2. Little roller to short, bobbled and kicked away. So Diaz, who hit the home run in the top of the inning, boots one, and safely aboard is Stripling. Hit the heel of the glove, then he couldn't pick it up, then he scooped it and it got away. So E6. 2 errors, both by Diaz. And here's Kendrick. Kendrick hit the ball hard twice. He's 1 for 2. Hits a flare this time for a base hit. Over to get it is Grichuk. Stripling stopping at second. So Kendrick 2 for 3, and remember, he almost hit a home run. A great catch by Randall Grichuk in center field. So the Dodgers now have 4 runs and 7 hits against Waka. Not a ball thrown in the Cardinal bullpen, however. Corey Seager drives one to right field. Going back is Piscotty to the track. Makes the catch. Both runners tag. Only one moves on, and that's Stripling to third. So Seager, a long fly ball to right. One down. Dodgers at first and third. You know, in retrospect, you look at young Diaz at shortstop, who has committed 2 errors, but he did hit a home run. Last year, Johnny Peralta was playing shortstop for the Cardinals. All he did was hit .440 against the Dodgers with 2 home runs and 8 runs batted in. So Diaz has a lot of work to do to catch up to Peralta against the Dodgers. Well, here's Turner, struck out and lost a base hit on a fine play by Diaz at short. First and third, one away. 0-1. Dodgers trying to add to their 4-2 lead. There's a beach ball in right center, and our specialist in beach balls is going out there to get it. So timeout for the moment. Clayton Kershaw. We have a time to mention about it. April 9th, he stopped a 2-game losing streak. May 1, he snapped a 6-game losing streak for the Dodgers. May 7th, he snapped a 2-game losing streak. And then, of course, last night shut out the Mets after losing the game before. Clayton, by the way, 7-1. 0-1 the count to Justin Turner. Big chopper to third, backing up Carpenter. Oh, what a play at second. He's off the bag, was long. And that ball looked like it would have gone into right field otherwise. So for Mike Matheny, he has to be awfully patient. This is kind of a raggedy Cardinal ball club. They lose a possible double play. It was a saver by Wong. So he had to leave the bag, and luckily just did have a ice cream cone high up in the webbing of the glove. So that's the 3rd error by the Cardinals. That gives them 32 errors already. That's a little shocking. Not to mention what it does to Matheny. Mike's a terrific guy. There's a story about this spring. They were going to play Florida State University, and Florida State University was in a lot of trouble. The father of the coach died. The coach had cancer. One of the players had Hodgkin lymphoma. And the team really in trouble as Adrian takes ball 1. And Matheny made sure before the exhibition game to go over, talk to the kids at Florida State, give them a pep talk, tell them that it'll bring them all together even more so. And boy, were they appreciative of that. Just one of a few things that Mike Matheny will do. The other thing, Mike, in St. Louis, he does some promotional work from a chess society. And so he got the good idea after a while. He became an avid chess player, and he brought chess boards. That's a foul ball. He brought chess boards into the Cardinal clubhouse. So you go into a baseball clubhouse, you'll see some guys playing cards. Nowadays, somebody on an iPad, everybody on the phone, but not in the Cardinal dressing room in St. Louis. They're playing chess. Well, at least 6 at a time. And they're going to have a chess tournament later on this year. Mike Matheny. Meanwhile, 2-1 to Gonzalez. High fly ball to center. It's playable. Grichuk is there, tagging up at second. And that'll do it. So the Dodgers now, as Gonzalez flies out, they have runners at first and third. Stripling was not going to come in. And here's Puig, who walked and grounded to short. So Turner at first, Stripling holding at third. 5-2 in favor of the Dodgers. Stripling walking home on that fly ball. Puig looking for a hit. His walk grounded to short, way out in front of a changeup. Basically, in watching, it has a fastball and a change. No balls, one strike. Turner taking his lead at first. Kendrick down the line from third. Pitch misses, 1-1. No one throwing in the Cardinal bullpen for the moment, but they are up and moving around. One ball, one strike. Ground ball by the diving Carpenter into left field. Bill Howie Kendrick brings in the run. The Dodgers lead 6-2. And Yasiel Puig gets himself a base hit and a run batted in. Dodgers not playing chess with the Cardinals. They're playing 21 hit me, and the Dodgers 6 runs, 8 hits. Cardinals 2 runs, 5 hits. Piscotty, Holiday, and Adams will be due up in the 5th inning. And young Diaz at shortstop could kick himself. And for that matter, so can Matt Carpenter. They've committed 3 errors. Dodgers taking advantage. Peterson takes ball 1. In the inning, Stripling reached on the error and scored on yet another error. Turner reached on the error. So sitting quietly, Ross Stripling is leading by 4, 6-2, looking for his first major league victory. Ball 2 to Peterson. Vern Lilliquist, who is the pitching coach for Mike Matheny, on the phone to get somebody up in the bullpen. And in a moment, it'll be Matt Bowman, a right-hander, just about ready to get throwing. 2 balls and no strikes. Puig at first, Turner at second. And pitching behind all night is Michael Wacha. 3-0. We'll see what they do with Peterson, whether they'll let him rip. Turner and Puig taking their leads. Thompson on deck. Three and 0. He is taking a strike. 3-1. So an error at short, then a single to center. With an out, another error at short. Fly ball and then a base hit. Three and 1. That's in there. So with a full count, the runner's ready to go. 2 down. Wacha does not appear to be long in the game. 88 pitches, and he's only in the 4th inning. 2 on, 2 out, and they'll be off and running. There they go. And the pitch is low, ball 4. So it is a long way from the Michael Wacha we saw in 2013. Of course, that happens.
Trace Thompson.
Trace Thompson coming up, and the base is loaded. Peterson and Puig and Kendrick. 2 out. Dodgers trying to break the game wide open here. Walker set and ready, and here he comes. Strike. Trace Thompson singles sharply to center and walk. One and one. And a slow roller to short. Diaz to the bag, and that's it. So with all of it, the Dodgers come up with 2 more runs. And at the end of 4, Dodgers 6, Cardinals 2. On Sportsnet LA is brought to you by your Southern California Toyota dealers. Toyota time is going on now. Save big on the striking all-new 2016 Prius. See your local dealer today. 6-2 in favor of the Dodgers. 5th inning. A look back to 1955. Roy Campanella, relief pitcher Clem Labine, and first baseman Gil Hodges. Labine had a, well, I don't want to call it a defect, but it actually helped him. If you look at your right index finger, you know the very first joint? In other words, if you look, there's a crease. Yours is straight up. At Labine's crease, it bent over. It was completely part of the finger, and yet he couldn't keep it straight. And because of that flip of that right index finger, that ball did some magical things. A little roller going foul. 0-1 to Stephen Piscotty. You know, we were looking at the Dodger record, realizing that everybody does, that the Dodgers are playing well on the road, but they've been losing at home. They're 7-10 going into the game. Well, misery loves company. You know, there's only 5 National League teams out of 15 that have a winning record. In the East, Washington, New York, and Philadelphia. In the Central, Chicago. And in the West, San Francisco. And talking about the Giants, they're leading the D-backs 3-1 in the 6th inning. Joe Panik, the second baseman, hit a 3-run home run. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Big overhand breaking ball. 3-2. Piscotty, fly deep to center, grounded out, and takes ball 4. And that'll bring up Matt Holliday.
The fielder, Matt Holliday.
Pitch count 67 pitches made by Ross Stripling. Matt Holliday has had a marvelous career. And a strike. Matt now 36 years old, 6'4", 235 pounds. Signed by the Rockies back in 1998. 0-1. I'm not sure who number 1 was, but when Matt Holliday was in high school, he was rated the second best quarterback in the country. His brother Josh was in the Blue Jays organization. 1 ball, 1 strike. Matt 6'4", 235. Makes his home in St. Louis. 1 ball, 1 strike. Lewis Coleman now is up in the Dodger bullpen. And that's a strike. 1-2. Coleman warming up. Of course, the Dodgers are rooting for Ross Stripling to go 5. As the starting pitcher, you must go 5. The last Dodger to go winless in the first 7 starts, a fella by the name of Clayton Kershaw. He went 9 starts. If Clayton can remember back the old days, 2008. Boy, he has come a long way, hasn't he? 2-2 to Holliday with Adams on deck. Just missed. Good fastball at 91. Holliday, one tough hitter. Waiting on deck, the big first baseman, Matt Adams. So 3-2 to Matt Holliday. Piscotty at first. There he goes. And there's a ground ball into left field. Seager broke to cover, and the ball just rolled right by the vacated area. Seager was breaking with a right-hand hitter up. It's the shortstop who's covering as Piscotty took off. So Seager went down. First and third now. Nobody out, and Matt Adams, who can certainly hit a home run, coming up. Adams has 3 home runs, 12 runs batted in. Honeycutt worried a little bit now. And a strike. Piscotty at third, Holliday at first, nobody out. 6-2 Dodgers. Cardinals threatening. Bad ball. Adams goes after it. Down to second base as that pitch got away from Ellis is Holliday. I think AJ might have thought that he hit the ball, but obviously he didn't. So down to second goes the Dodgers threat, Matt Holliday. I'll assume that's a wild pitch until we hear otherwise. Second and third, it is a wild pitch. 0-2 to Adams. Second and third, nobody out, and the Cardinals trying to get off the ground, but Adams strikes out. That looked like he was trying to uppercut a high fastball, and he came up empty. Up there, yeah, he sure was. I think he was thinking home run. Stripling picks up a strikeout, only his second. Dodgers rooting for him to get through the inning, and here's Molina, 2 for 2. Big at bat. Ball one. Behind Molina, Randall Grichuk. But it's Molina 2 for 2, the big problem. That's a strike. So 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out. Cardinals at second and third, and the Dodgers leading 6-2. Stripling close, but no cigar, not yet. Coleman warming up down in the pen. Punched on the ground to Kendrick. He picks it up, makes the play. The run scores. Piscotty brings it in. So it's 6-3 Dodgers, and the batter will be Grichuk.
Center fielder, Randall Grichuk.
6 runs, 8 hits for the Dodgers, 3 runs, 6 hit, and 3 Cardinal errors. And here's Grichuk, hit into a force play and popped up. A lot of power, 5 home runs, 18 ribbies, but only hitting .209. Runner at third. Strike. No balls and 1 strike. Roberts trying to get Stripling a win. 1 hopper at short, backhanded by Seager, and throws him out. So the Cardinals get 1, but the big thing, Ross Stripling has gone 5 and could pick up the victory at the end of 4.5. 6-3 Dodgers. Here's one of the great voices for the Cardinals, a great all-around sportscaster, Jack Buck. Of course, you know his son Joe now, who does all the major sporting events. But Jack, for so many years, was the heart and soul of the Cardinals and the big man in the Middle West. Terrific guy. We used to have a lot of fun together. Miss him. Matt Bowman comes out of the bullpen. He's from Princeton. In fact, he was the ace of the staff for a couple of years. In between starts, he played shortstop. That's one reason why he went to Princeton. Fastball strike, 0-1. A.J. Ellis has hit the ball hard, but nothing to show for it. Hit into a double play and lined out to center. And that's going to go up the middle for the base hit. So Bowman is greeted with a line drive single to center. Stripling, who is battling for a win, will be coming up. And one reason Stripling has been very, very efficient with men on base. The Cardinals are 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. So here is Bowman. Showing bunt, that's a strike, and the count 0-1. Matt Bowman picking up for Michael Wacha. Wacha had a tough night. 6 runs, 9 hits, and his club made 3 errors back of him, so that didn't help at all. Plus 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Yadier Molina trying to handle the young pitcher. Yadier taking a look over at Mike Matheny. That's a strike. 0-2. Stripling trying to move his man along. So Matheny, a great catcher in his own right, letting his catcher Molina do what he wants. 0-2 the count. Ellis at first, nobody out in a bunt situation, but Stripling singled his first at bat. Did he? Yes, he did. So Stripling strikes out, 1 down. Ellis holding at first, and the batter will be Howie Kendrick.
Number 47, Howie Kendrick.
Kendrick has hit the ball very hard, robbed of a home run by Randall Grichuk in the first inning. Single to right, single to center. And a strike. Basically, with Bowman, fastball, curve, slider, and a change. Most people think in the organization that his changeup is his best secondary pitch. Originally drafted by the Mets. 0-1. 1 ball and 1 strike. Bowman, 6 feet, but only 165 pounds, working on Kendrick. One ball and 1 strike. Two and 1. Big chopper to third. Carpenter goes down to second. They get 1. So Kendrick taps to third. We have 2 out here in the 5th. And Seager coming up. Don't forget, friends, Sunday, the first 15,000 kids in attendance receive kids batting gloves courtesy of Kellogg's Rice Krispies treats. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Bowman ready and a pitch out. Kendrick not moving. Matt's body size might remind you a little bit of Tim Lincecum. but only his size. 1 ball, no strikes. And ball 2. When he was in high school, he saw Lincecum pitch and decided, I'm going to try and do that. He's small, but he can throw the ball hard. 2-0. That's going to go foul down the line. Corey Seager grounded out, struck out, fly to right. Committed an error. Hitting .265. That's a strike. 2-2 the count. One thing that Derek Lilliquist cautioned Bowman: let your legs work about 75%. The caution is because the rest of it would be made up by adrenaline. Ground ball to the hole. It's going to get into left field. Kendrick rounding second and holding on. So Seager rolls one into left.
Third baseman, number 10, Justin Turner.
So Justin Turner coming up with runners at first and second and 2 down. I remember telling the story of what veterans tell kids when they first come up to the big leagues, and it is simply this: they tell them, don't look up. In other words, they're accustomed to small ballparks in the lower minors, and you can be thoroughly intimidated if you actually look up the first time you walk into a game in a big league ballpark. And that was the advice they gave Bowman when he made his debut. A hot one down to short. It gets away from Diaz. So the Dodgers will have Kendrick score. Over to third goes Seager. And the young shortstop is having a nightmare night. The ball was hit very hard, but again, it's the big leagues, and they expect you to make that play. Hard ground ball, and off it went. It even knocked him down. Hit him in the stomach, never touched the glove. So we will see now, will they rule out the 4th error? Turner aboard. And the batter, Adrian Gonzalez. Yep, it's a boot. Ball 1. So Aledmys Diaz has committed 3 errors tonight. The Cardinals have committed 4. They have now made 33 errors already. They've only played 36 games. First and third for the Dodgers. Little roller foul. So the Dodgers now lead 7-3. Seager down the line from third. Turner at first on the error. So for Stripling, he's got himself a 4-run lead. Adrian reached on an error at short, doubled, fly to center. Ball 2, 2-1. Bowman did not look up when he made his major league debut in Pittsburgh, but then in the second inning, he looked up and spotted his mom sitting above the first base dugout, kind of nodded to her. Here's the 2-1 pitch. Off speed, big swing and a miss. So deuce is wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. 2 on, first and third. Turner and Seager. Adrian spinning around, comes up empty, down he goes. And at the end of 5, as the Dodgers pick up another run, they lead 7-3. Man in Brooklyn in 1956 was Giants pitcher Sal Maglie, and on this day of all people, he was traded to the Dodgers. More on that, but let's get back to this one. Sal Maglie, in those days, pitching for the Giants, was called the Barber. That's a drive going down the right field line, hooking in the corner, lands fair just inside the chalk. And here comes Wong on his way for his second triple, and he will make it. So Wong tripled in the second inning, grounded out in the fourth, and triples into the corner to open up matters in the sixth. Anyway, Maglie was called the Barber because you'd get a fastball under the chin, slider down in the way. You'd start looking for that pitch down in the way, and whoops, it'd come right back up under the chin, and he would knock down the entire ball club. And boy, did they hate him in Brooklyn. Well, he was traded to the Dodgers this day. And I will never forget, one of the men who absolutely hated him was Dodger right fielder Carl Furillo. Maglie used to knock him down all the time. And so there was the night in St. Louis, of all places. I was in the lobby of the hotel. Who walks in carrying a big pizza box but Sal Maglie? Where are you going, Sal? I'm going to see my buddy Carl Furillo. Ball one. Not only did they get along very well, Maglie was assimilated by the team immediately. He pitched a no-hitter. And if you wonder, in answer to trivia, when Don Larson pitched his gem in the 1956 World Series, who was the losing pitcher? You got it, Sal Maglie. One and two. And right through the legs of Ellis, and so here comes Wong, and it's 7-4. This is not exactly an artistic major league game. The wild pitch brings the run in. Four runs, 7 hits, and the Cardinals are trying to overcome themselves, and the Dodgers are a little close giving it up, and there's a shot down the left field line in the corner. Here goes Diaz into second base with a double, So you get the feeling that Stripling is hanging on now. A line drive triple to right, line drive double to left. Hazelbaker is out on deck, and he's been announced. So it could be that'll do it for Stripling. We have time, so we'll find out what's next. We'll be right back. Dodger on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop online at choosenissan.com. A triple and a double chasing Ross Stripling, who went 5, allowed 4 runs and 8 hits, struck out but 2, walked 3, and driven to cover. So now Liberatore will be pitching not to Hasselbaker but to Jed Jerko. You remember him spending his time up and down with the Padres. Jed, a mountaineer out of West Virginia. 4 home runs, 9 runs batted in. You have Diaz at second, nobody out. Fastball strike. 0-1. Jed Jerko out of Morgantown, West Virginia, facing Adam Liberatore, who's been absolutely phenomenal in his last 5 appearances. In the pen, Lewis Coleman. Jerko 5'10", 200-pounder. Oh, 2. When Jerko came up to the Padres, that was back in 2013, you thought, whoa, I'm looking at an all-star. He had 23 home runs, 63 runs batted in, but all of a sudden it all seemed to disappear. 0-2. In the dirt, squirts away, but not far. Diaz holding on. For Diaz, he has a home run and a double, but he's also committed 3 errors, so he's trying to fight himself. The other error charged to Carpenter. Left-hander Tyler Lyons warming up now in the Cardinal pen. 1-2 to Jerko. Nobody out. Little roller wide of third. Turner makes the play with the ball hit ahead of him. Diaz had nowhere to go. So 1 out, and Carpenter coming up. Matt walked twice, struck out. We should tell you a little bit about Aledmys Diaz. He's from Santa Clara in Cuba. 6'1", about 195. Probably 26, although there's a little question mark about his birthday. He was an international free agent. Cardinals signed him 3 years ago. We mentioned that he had a 5-hit game. So Diaz taking his lead. Carpenter trying to pick him up. 7-4 favor the Dodgers. But this game is a long way from being finished. Ball one. It's funny, I was reading a possible scouting report about this game tonight, and one of the lines truly underlined, figured to be a low scoring game. Well, Dodgers 7, 10 hits, 1 error. Cardinals 4 runs, 8 hits, 4 errors. We're only in the 6th inning. 1 ball, no strikes. Fastball and a high fly ball down the left field line. Seager's the middleman, and it's called off as Thompson makes the catch. So Diaz had nowhere to go, and Carpenter a fly ball. Remember, we told you that the Cardinals were 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. I mean, they've had plenty of chances to overcome their own mistakes. So Liberatore got his man, Carpenter, and now they will bring in Coleman to get Piscotty, and we will pause for this. Scotty from Pleasanton, California, went to Stanford, and when he came up July of last year, he played 63 games for the Cardinals. He had 18 multi-hit games, 26 extra base hits, 7 game-winning RBIs, 23 two-out RBIs, and he hit .393 with runners in scoring position. In the division series, he knocked in 6 RBIs against the Cubs and hit 3 home runs. So the boy from Stanford will present a threat, and we'll see how he does against Lewis Coleman, who is dynamite against right-handers. They're hitting less than 100. Slider missing, ball 1. A run in here in the 6th. Dodgers hanging on 7-4. Piscotty 0 for 2 with a walk. That's in there. Same pitch at 81. One slider misses, the next one gets in there. Fastball. 1-2. On deck, Matt Holliday. It's been Stripling, Libator, and now Coleman. 1-2 to Piscotty. Fouled away. Diaz, who has certainly made the headlines tonight at second base. Piscotty, 6'3", 210. 1-2. Fastball in there. Strike 3 call. Piscotty ticked off. Down he goes. So a big high fastball leaves Diaz at second base. Piscotty might have been kicked out. I mean, watch what he does. Slams the bat down. That gets the crowd going. And Dan Bellino talking to Steve. We'll see if he's done or not after this. Cardinals have met a lot of times, 5 times in the postseason. In the division series, 3 times the Cardinals won 2 of 3. 2 times in the league championship series, Cardinals have won for those. The last time the division series, 2014, and the Dodgers lost 3 games to 1. Tyler Lyons will now come in. He's from Lubbock, Texas. The Cardinals have to be absolutely beside themselves. They've committed 4 errors, and they are 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position. The young shortstop Diaz committing 3 errors. And by the way, Carpenter made the other. Piscotty is still in the game. Fly ball to right field. Coming over for it is Piscotty on the track. Leaps in the air, but it's in the stands. So Yasiel Puig gets a fly ball home run to right field, and the Dodgers lead 8-4. So Yasiel tonight 3 for 4. And the Dodgers have opened it up the lead by 4. The last home run for Yasiel was May the 3rd in Tampa Bay. Piscotty up the ladder, but no chance. So Piscotty angered to be called out. Now angry as that fly ball home run. He couldn't get his glove on it. Big curveball to Peterson for a strike. Wow, time goes by. Puig now has hit 50 home runs. He seems almost to be embarrassed hitting a fly ball home run to right field, but he will take it. Deo gracias. Lions from Lubbock, Texas, went to Oklahoma State. Big roundhouse curveball again. Peterson has walked, doubled, walked again. Down in the Dodger bullpen, Pedro Baez begins to warm up. Slow curveball hit to the right side. Wong will make the play, and we have one down. Trace Thompson coming up. Single, walked, hit into a force play. His base hit drove in 2 runs back in the second inning. Checking in against Tyler William Lyons. And a strike. Lyons, 28 years old. Played for Team USA. He helped the USA get a gold medal. He made 11 appearances without giving up an earned run. Fastball fouled away. Lions in the minor leagues pitched a no-hitter in Palm Beach. Nothing different. Fastball, curve, and a change. Very nice, easy delivery. There's Yasiel feeling chipper. And strike 3 call to Trace Thompson.
Number 17.
2 down. A.J. Ellis coming up. Ellis has hit into a double play, lined out to center, and singled to center. Dodgers scored 3 in the second, 1 in the third, 2 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth, 1 in the sixth. Ground ball to Carpenter, stumbles, but makes the play. So 1 run, 1 hit, 1 swing of the bat. Yasiel Puig lifting a high fly ball to right field, strong enough to hit it the other way and get it into the seats. And at the end of 6, 8-4 Dodgers. good night. 2 singles and a home run to right field. Dodgers lead 8-4. Cardinals thoroughly frustrated with themselves. The Cardinals are 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position. They have made 4 errors. And here is Matt Holliday against Lewis Coleman. Ball 1. Ross Stripling got his 5 innings in, so he's eligible to pick up his first win. He made 89 pitches. Then Liberatore and now Coleman. And a high fly ball to deep center. Back goes Peterson at the wall and makes the catch. Wow, says Peterson, and Puig is all over him. Take another look. To the wall, up you go, and that might have gone out. Take it a little closer. No, maybe not. Anyway, it's an out, and a very fine out. Kike Hernandez is now heading to the outfield, and the Dodgers. Pedro Baez coming in, so it's a 2-for-1 switch. You'll put Baez in Thompson's spot and put Kike batting 9th, and we'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen.
On Sportsnet LA is brought to you by BMW. See a Southern California BMW Center today for exceptional offers, or visit SoCalBMW.com. And by Children's Hospital Los Angeles. We treat kids better. We're in the 7th inning, 1 out. Kike Hernandez takes over in left field and bats 9th. Pedro Baez goes into Thompson's spot. And with 1 out, it'll be Matt Adams after that fine catch by Jock Peterson. His 2nd of the night. Adams hit into a force play, popped up and struck out. And a high pop fly into shallow left. Hernandez just getting into the game and makes the putout. 2 down, 7th inning, and Molina the batter. The Cardinals tonight have gone 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position. To commit 4 errors as well. It's the old story. We have met the enemy, and here's us. Giants leading 3-1 in the 9th inning in Arizona. Molina, 2 singles, grounded out. 0-1 to Yadier. Molina, like his manager, outstanding catcher. Cardinals played the Mets a few years ago. He caught all 20 innings and then came right back and played the next day. Molina, 5'11", 225 pounds. He'll be 34 in July. Of course, his brothers Ben and Jose Molina also had big league careers. 1 ball, 1 strike in there. Interesting, as Baez looks in, Molina is from a little town in Puerto Rico. The English translation, it's called the town of squatters. Workers wait for trains to come and pick them up to take them to the sugarcane fields. So isn't it appropriate? 3 brothers from the town of the squatters become major league catchers. Two and two. Fouled away. Cardinals scored 1 in the first, 1 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth, 1 in the sixth. Bad ball, did he? Yes, he did. So Molina strikes out, chasing 1 out of the strike zone. And at the end of 6.5 innings, after a fine play by Jock Peterson, the Dodgers lead 8-4. Kike Hernandez leading off the bottom of the 7th inning, batting 9th in the lineup against Lions. Kike 0 for his last 20. Looked like a change that time. 1 ball and 1 strike. Tyler William Lyons by name, out of Lubbock, Texas. Little ground ball wide of third, up with it Carpenter, and makes the play. 1 away. Looking ahead for the Dodgers, they certainly have a busy schedule. The Cardinals will keep them busy tomorrow night at 6 and then Sunday at 5. Then the Angels will be here Monday and Tuesday. And the Dodgers will be so happy to see them, they'll then go to Anaheim and play the Angels Wednesday and Thursday and continue on to San Diego. Chopper to third, Carpenter's on it. Kendrick didn't hang around. One pitch, 2 down. After the Dodgers come back from San Diego, they're here briefly for a 3-game series with the Cincinnati Reds. And then they'll go out and they'll go to the Mets for 3, the Cubs for 4 before coming home. So Dave Roberts and Bob Guerin talking things over. 8 runs, 11 hits for the Dodgers, 4 runs, 8 hits, and 4 errors for the Cardinals. Seager grounded out, struck out, flied to right, single to left. 1-1. Foul back. Lyons, a very nice smooth delivery. Boy, he really gets that leg up to the sky. It makes him look a lot taller than 6'2". Fastball going foul down the line, out of play. Lyons became the first Cardinals starter since Greg Matthews back in 1986 to win his debut, allowing no more than 1 run in at least 7 innings. A great way to start. Good breaking ball. Wow. But that high kick and that easy delivery, he makes a striking appearance. No pun intended, as he strikes out Seager. And at the end of 7, it's 8-4 Dodgers. Ball is brought to you by Cricket Wireless. Cricket, something to smile about. Oh, it's a troublesome world. All the people who are in it are troubled with troubles almost every minute. You ought to be thankful, a whole heaping lot, for the places and people you're lucky you're not. Yeah, there they are. The gang. We're in the 8th inning. It's 8-4 in favor of the Dodgers. Baez with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball to say hello to Randall Gritchett, who was hit into a force play, popped up and grounded out. 0-1. Foul back. Paid attendance tonight 46,716. Don't forget fireworks tonight. Oh, and 2. And Baez just blows him down. So that takes care of Grichuk, 1 out. And now Colton Wong, who has 2 triples. You don't see that too often. Wong tripled in the second inning, but was run down on a comebacker. Grounded out, tripled again, and scored on a wild pitch. Ball 1. From Hilo, Hawaii. Dodgers lead 8-4, 8th inning. Giants are winning over in Arizona, and they finally won 3-1. That's kind of interesting. Since 2014, the Giants are 8-3 against Arizona. In San Francisco against the D-backs, they're 2-12. How do you figure that out? They won tonight on a 3-run home run by Joe Panik on a 3-0 pitch from Shelby Miller. 3-0 the count to Colton Wong. He's a young fella we mentioned earlier, using an axe to chop down trees to make himself stronger. Three and 0. And a strike. Pedro Baez trying to nail things down here in the 8th. On deck, fellow who has had a nightmare night, Aledmys. Fastball 3-2, and fastball at 97. Wong at 5'9", and Baez trying to overpower him. Had him 3-0, now 3-2. 1 out. Fastball hit wide at third. Turner. 2 down now in the 8th inning. Aledmys Diaz, fielder's choice, home run and double. But nightmare with the glove. 3 errors. Well, it's all part of it. Diaz hitting .391. Brandon Moss, a left-hand batter, is out on deck. Dodgers with Stripling, Liberatore, Coleman, and Baez. Foul back. 0-1. Diaz from Santa Clara in Cuba, 6'1", about 195. He left Cuba and made his home in Mexico. He defected during a tournament in the Netherlands and established residency in Mexico. When he got here, he said he was 23. There was some papers that said he was 22. They finally settled on the fact that he was born in 91. According to being international signings, it's better for him to be 23 than 21 or 22. Cuban players who are at least 23 are exempt from the bonus pools. International signings subject to the $2.9 million bonus pools. Popped it up and up and up. Justin Turner. So 1-2-3 in the 8th inning. Nice job turned in by Pedro Baez. We're heading for the bottom of the 8th, 8-4 Dodgers. Stadium to Jonathan Broxton, the former Dodger who was signed out of high school back in 2002. Jonathan, a very big man, always has been. He's 6'4" and around 300 pounds. He was signed by the Dodgers and came up to the club in 2005. Stayed with them pretty much and eventually left the Dodgers. Went to the Royals, then to the Reds, then to the Brewers, and now this is his second year with the Cardinals. Big John, as quiet and soft-spoken as he is big. Fastball strike to Turner, 0-1. Justin struck out, grounded out, reached on an error. Picked up an RBI, hitting .248. One and one. Baez made 19 pitches, and Joe Blanton will be asked to get the last outs. One and one. Big John was born in Augusta, lives in Waynesboro. Two and one. Dropped that in nicely. When you think of Augusta, Georgia, you think of golf. When you think of Waynesboro, Georgia, that's a town of about 6,000. That's known as the bird dog capital of the world. Three and two. Jonathan's father was on a competitive traveling softball team, and his mom also played. His older brother and sister played softball. Justin Turner comes up empty and one away. MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 devices. That includes a free subscription to @Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. So visit MLB.TV for details. Good look at Joe Blanton, and with one out, the batter is Gonzalez. Adrian reached on an error, double, fly to center, struck out. 0-1. The crowd 46,716. Friday night fireworks. Off the plate, 1 ball, 1 strike. We're in the bottom of the 8th. Dodgers scored 3 in the 2nd, 1 in the 3rd, 2 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th, and 1 in the 6th for 8. One and 2 the count. When Jonathan was 6 years old, even at that age, at 6, he was deemed too big to play with other children his age. They kicked him out of T-ball. They wouldn't let him play. They said he was going to hurt somebody. So then he went and played with 12 years old, and he actually made the All-Star team. And they wouldn't let him play again. They said I was too young to play. Well, first he was too big. Then he was too young, and he finally made it to the big leagues. 2 and 2. Ball 3. Three and 2. Yasiel Puig on deck, 1 out. Ground ball, right side. Wong is on it. So with 2 down, Yasiel Puig coming up. He's had a pretty good night.
Right fielder, number 66, Yasiel Puig.
Puig singled off the glove of Michael Wacha, and that was a big play. It might have been a double play ball. Instead, it got away. They ruled it a base hit, and the Dodgers scored 3 runs in that inning. Next time up, he grounded out. Next time up, he singled a left. And last time up, homered to right. First pitch, he hits a lot of home runs. Tried to then. Of his 50 career home runs, 19 have come on the first pitch, including tonight. He has another 6 on a no ball 1 strike count, and another 6 on a 1-0 count. 0-1. Boy, 97. So Big John can still cut it loose. And that's ball 2. They check, no swing. 2-1. Big John doesn't talk about baseball with his wife. He said baseball is too personal, too sacred to talk about. It's something God has given me a chance to do. So it's more than a job. And that's a high pop fly to Matt Carpenter. So the Dodgers tiptoe through the 8th. They went quietly in the 7th. So 9 in a row retired since Puig's home run. And the Dodgers take an 8-4 lead into the 9th. Cardinals 8-4 as we go to the 9th inning. The Dodgers are using their 5th pitcher, Joe Blanton. The Cardinals have used 4 pitchers. The Cardinals have committed 4 errors. They came in here leading the league with 29, so it's now 33. Brandon Moss will be the hitter for Broxton, and then Carpenter and Piscotty in that order. So Brandon Moss trying to get something started, and time has just about run out. Big Brandon, if you talk to him, one of the sore spots in his life is when you load up the right side of the infield. And of course, being a left-handed batter, the Dodgers are going to load it up. Now, Joe Girardi, the manager of the Yankees, not only dislikes loading up, he thinks it should be ruled unfair. And Brandon Moss would carry him to become the new commissioner. Off speed for a strike from Blanton. Brandon is an even 6, 210 pounder, originally drafted by the Red Sox. 33 years old and lifts one. 4 Dodgers are gathering underneath it, and it's Seager taking it away from Turner. So that didn't take long. 1 away.
Third baseman number 13, Matt Carpenter.
Matt Carpenter walked twice, struck out, flied to left, committed an error. Remember, the Cardinals tonight had all kinds of chances. Even though they had a porous defense, they were 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position. So it's been a tough night. Tough night for all of them. That's a strike. 1-1. Tomorrow night, Carlos Martinez, Scott Kazmir. Remember, a 6-10 game. Good breaking ball. Fastball just did get a little bit of it. Matt, we started the evening talking about it. In case you wonder, there are 16 major league players who wear number 13, and Matt, one of them. One ball, two strikes. Just missed. Giants won. Dodgers hanging on, trying to win to keep pace, and they will each still be tied with the other for first place. 2-2. And pulled foul down the line. Last year, Cardinals beat the Dodgers 5 of 7. For the Dodgers to get 8 runs against the Cardinals is really rare. The Cardinals have held the Dodgers to 2 runs or fewer over the last 5 games. Off the plate. No gloves. 28 home runs last year. Pulled foul outside of first. As a leadoff man, he can consume a lot of pitches. 8 so far. And gets the walk. So Carpenter has walked 3 times tonight. And now Stephen Piscotty flied to center, grounded to second, walked and struck out, angry. Very lucky he was not kicked out of the game. Whenever you show displeasure, I mean really show it, you're asking for an ejection. He slammed the bat down and Bellino talked to him. Then he was angry because he ran to the railing, leaped in the air, but couldn't get Puig's home run. So Piscotty hitting .312. Kenley Jansen now gets up just in case. Piscotty last year was knocked out, carted off the field, colliding with Peter Bourjos late in September. Strike. He had a concussion, so they had to really take care of him. There goes the runner. Dodgers will let him run. The Carpenter does not get a stolen base. They call it defensive indifference, but what it does do is take a force play or even a double play away. Matt Holliday on deck. No swing. 2-1 to count. Two and one to Steven. Minor league player of the year for the Cardinals last year. And a little flare to right field. Gonna be trouble, and it will drop. Picked up by Puig, who guns it to the plate. Runners at first and third with 1 out. So Piscotty, little flare single. Cardinals still alive. Puig was playing more towards right center. He couldn't get there. Gonzalez couldn't pick it up. So Yasiel, anytime he has a chance to throw, he cuts it loose. And of all people to cut it off, it was the pitcher, Joe Blanton. And now, wait a minute. Dave Roberts looking at Holliday and Adams, 2 guys who can muscle it out of here. And Blanton is coming out. When in doubt, Kenley Jansen. And he'll be asked to get 2 outs here in the 9th inning, and we'll be back. Kenley Jansen in his 15th game with a dazzling earned run average 0.6. What also gets your attention, the strikeouts to walks. 15 strikeouts and 1 walk. He has 153 saves. He's going to face Matt Holliday. In the past, Holliday 1 for 6. Matt Adams is 1 for 1. And if they get to Yadier Molina, he's 2 for 3. So the game certainly still up there. Carpenter at third, Piscotty at first. And Jansen to the rescue, the 6th Dodger pitcher. Holliday single to center, grounded to short, single to left, and was robbed of an extra base hit by Jock Peterson. A drive down the right field line, but slicing and going foul. When Holliday hit the ball to center field in the 7th inning, I swear he hardly swung at all and chased Peterson up against the wall. Oh, and 1 to Matt. When Matt was clean shaven, he really looked like an athlete. He couldn't possibly have done anything else. You can't really see those features now that he's grown the beard. 0-1. And 1 ball and 1 strike. You could see a football helmet on his head. You could think of him as a fighter pilot. 1 ball, 1 strike. 8-4 Dodgers. 9th inning, 1st and 3rd, 1 out for the Birds. Fastball missing. 2-1. Carpenter at third, Piscotty at first, 1 away. 8-4 Dodgers, 9th inning. Ground ball up the middle. There's Seager. Shovels to Kendrick. Turns it to Gonzalez. So Matt Holliday hits into the double play. 6-4-3. And the Dodgers wrap it up. And again, the Cardinals fail to come up with a base hit. They were 1 for 12, and they wound up 2 for 14 tonight with runners in scoring position. 8-11 and 1 for the Dodgers, and 4-9-4 for the Cardinals. We had 2 great plays tonight worth taking a look at. Let's roll it back. The drive to center. Grichuk on his horse at the wall takes a home run away from Howie Kendrick. And then later on, it was Jock Peterson taking a possible home run away. So 2 dazzling plays and 1 big hug. So the Dodgers win it 8-4. They remain tied with the Giants, who won in Arizona. Remember, tomorrow night, a 6:10 game. We'll talk to you then. Till then, good night, everybody.